Hey, it's Cole over at Cape Fear Customs. If you're watching this video, there's a pretty good chance that you're in the market for a used Jeep. We wanted to make this video so we could go over all the things you need to be looking for when purchasing a used Jeep Wrangler. Before we get started, I just wanted to state there are hundreds of things that you can check for when purchasing a vehicle. Today, we're going to focus on things inherent to Jeep Wranglers. I have to note as a disclaimer that you should always take the vehicle to a trusted mechanic to go over thoroughly before purchasing a vehicle, especially if it's an older YJ or TJ model. Also, try to get as many maintenance records as possible. And oh yeah, that Carfax guy, get him too. So you look online and you see tons of Jeeps for sale. Then the dealership you pass has like 4 or 5 of them sitting right out front as well. Which Jeep Wrangler's for you? Chances are you're going to be looking at either the JK or JL generations of Jeeps. The JK generation was produced from 2007 to 2018. The JL also started in 2018. It is the model of the current day generation. There are several different special editions throughout these years, but we're going to stick with the basics. The Wrangler Sport is the base model Jeep. Next up is the Sport S. That comes with power windows and locks, tinted rear windows, and a few other conveniences. The Sahara is the upgraded model with painted fenders, a painted roof, leather seats, side steps, a host of other bells and whistles, pretty much for your convenience. It's the pretty one. The Rubicon is the more capable of the lineup with a better suspension, upgraded Data 44 axles, front and rear lockers, as well as sway bar disconnects. In the JK, there are 2 different engines. From 2007 to 2011, there's a 3.8-liter V6 that produces 202 horsepower. These engines do typically start to consume more oil after 100,000 miles. The other thing to look for in these is a cracked manifold. If you start to hear the engine having a ticking noise, then that's probably the cause. In 2012, the 3.6-liter was introduced, producing an additional 83 horsepower. A few common things to check are the oil cooler for leaks. Check under the vehicle in this area as well. It's also common for the radiator to leak and need replacing. And also check the cooling tanks for any sort of cracks because they're prone to do this. These are both great engines that can last many miles as long as you're maintaining the proper maintenance. I'm not going to go on much about the JL engines because there's so many of them and I don't want this to turn into a video about engines. The Pentastar 3.6 V6 is the standard option with 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. They offer a 2-liter turbo e-torque engine with 270 horsepower and a bump up in torque to 295. That was replaced in 2021 with the non-e-torque version. The 4XC plug-in hybrid has a 2.0-liter turbo, good for 375 horsepower and 470 pounds of torque. A 3-liter EcoDiesel V6 with 260 horsepower and a whopping 440 pound-feet of torque is also available. Lastly, there's the monster 6.4-liter Hemi with 470 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. Now that we have a basic knowledge of trends and engines available, let's talk doors. The 4-door Unlimited Wrangler appeared in 2007. It has you guessed it, 2 more doors. It also has a longer wheelbase, which makes for a smoother ride, and it also has a lot more storage. The 2-door is also available. It's cheaper, but the turning radius is incredible, especially on trails. So what do I look for when I find the make and model that I want? First things first, you definitely want to look underneath the vehicle to inspect for rust. Many Jeep owners have driven their vehicle in the snow and or the beach. You'll want to look at the frame and the undercarriage for any damage. Some surface rust is common, but make sure to check inside the rails. It's a common place for moisture or salt to collect, causing rust from the inside out. You definitely don't want that. Second, you need to determine if the vehicle has been modified or if it's stock. Just because it's been modified does not necessarily mean that it's a red flag. Check the brands of the components. If I were to see, let's say, a rough country part, I would probably pass because this is a budget brand and it could indicate that the price of routine maintenance was not followed. If you see companies like TerraFlex or AEV, then the previous owner has invested some money into this build and probably had the funds to do it correctly. Now, if there are any aftermarket parts, realize that anytime a Jeep is raised more than 2.5 inches, then you're going to need to correct the geometry of that Jeep and the driveline. Be on the lookout for longer control arms, a geometry correction bracket, a different drive shaft, or basically anything else that looks aftermarket besides the shocks, coils, and spacers. Most importantly is the need to make sure these parts were installed correctly. If you can find out the shop where the work was done, that'd be even better. While you're under the vehicle, look for any signs of scraping, dents, or beat up skid plates. This will tell you whether the previous owner took the vehicle off-road or if it was a road queen. Make sure to check the engine bay doesn't have any sort of leaks, and to check the differential and transfer case for leaks as well. Check the ball joints for wear, all of the bushings and fittings, the control arms, and sway bars. Dried out cracked bushings are a sign of needing replaced, which can lead to other issues. If there's been any welding materials, make sure the welds are clean, well done, and then painted. Next up, you'll want to check the tires to see if there's any uneven wearing, because this can be a sign of either not rotating the tires, or it means routine maintenance has been skipped, or there's a problem with your alignment, perhaps caused by faulty suspension components. Additionally, take a look on the inside bumper of the fender wells for signs of tire rubbing. If aftermarket wheels or bigger tires have been installed, this is definitely something you need to check out. Also, take a look for any paint scraping of the lower control arm. Now's the time to open the hood. Visually inspect the hoses for wear or cracking. Check to see if there's any sort of coolant leaks or broken seals. Inspect the radiator, the braking system, valve covers, and head gasket for leaks. If there's any aftermarket electrical components such as lighting, winches, speakers, tow packages, take a look at how the wiring was installed. If the wires are loosely going all over the place, it's a good chance that you're going to have some issues at some point. Next, go ahead and turn on the vehicle. Listen for any sort of misfiring. Is there any noises, something irregular, any banging or rattling? Remember that tick, tick, tick we talked about? Is there any lights on the dash? Take a few slow hand turns of the vehicle. Make sure that steering wheel comes back to center. The steering should be tight and not have any play in the wheel. If it's not, this could be an easy fix, up to several thousands of dollars, depending on the case. Next, try braking your vehicle hard. If it pulls to the side, the rotors may need to replace it. Try out the four-wheel drive. Make sure that this engages while you're on your test drive. This could be an expensive repair if it doesn't. A few other things to note: look for striping in the paint, as this will indicate that the vehicle's probably been driven off-road through probably bushes or low trees or something like that, and this is a little bit of scratching in the paint. Take a look at the bolts that go through the body panels. Check for bubbling of paint around them, because this can be a sign of rust damage. Again, there are hundreds of things you can check, but I hope this clears up the places to look for potential red flags when determining which Jeep is right for you. You may find the vehicle you want has a few of these issues. This could strengthen your negotiation power if it's not a deal breaker for you. Thanks for watching this video. Remember to like and subscribe down below. Stay tuned for more videos helping to increase your education in this thing we call Jeep life. See you soon.